they became also examples for us of, as companions of the Prophet ﷺ. But when a delegation from Bani Tamim came to the Prophet ﷺ in Medina, and what would happen was different tribes, they would become Muslim. And then the chief of the tribe became Muslim, everybody Muslim. So if the chief became Muslim, he go back and say, hey y'all, guess what? We Muslim now. Everybody say, all right. You know? And that was, I guess, was a good thing. So when Bani Tamim came to the Prophet ﷺ, when they were getting ready to leave, as was the Prophet's habit, when the tribes came, when they got ready to go, he would elect an emir from that group. He would say, okay, now so-and-so, you're the emir of them now. And they go back, and that person will be the emir, as far as the Muslims. And so, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he said, Ya Rasulullah, Lo amarta al-Aqra' ibn Habis. So I think you should make al-Aqra' ibn Habis, you should make him the emir of Bani Tamim. And Umar said, Ya Rasulullah, I think you should make al-Qaqa' ibn Ma'bad the emir. So Abu Bakr said to Umar, why are you trying to go against me? Why are you going against me? And Umar said to him, I'm not going against you, you're going against me. And they started to pray. And they started to raise their voices. And the Prophet ﷺ was sitting right there. And they arguing like he ain't nowhere around. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down the verse, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, la tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allahi wa rasulihi, wattaqullaha, inna Allaha sami'un alim. He said, oh, you who believe, don't be so forthcoming in the presence of Allah and His Messenger. But on the contrary, have taqwa of Allah. Verily Allah is all-hearing and all-knowing. But then the way Allah does with adab in the Quran is many times when there's an issue that has to be addressed when it comes to our character. And also the Prophet used to do the same thing later. He would address the issue at hand, but then after he addressed the issue at hand, he would go on and address subsequent issues as if to say, well, now that I'm on the subject about adab, there's some more stuff I got to tell you. And even the Prophet ﷺ, part of his sunnah, and the ulama say this is the sunnah of responding to questions. Even sometimes if you ask me a question, sometimes people complain to you, man, you give a long answer. And I'm going to tell you why. Part of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is part of the adab, because see, Allah is still teaching the Prophet the adab, how to be as a prophet. And the Prophet is teaching us the adab, how to be as believers, and we pattern ourselves after. That's why he says, Inni bu'ithtu li'utammima makarim al-akhlaq. He says, I was sent to complete the excellent standard of character. And so the Prophet used to do the same thing. One issue may come up, but he dealt with several issues. Like the time they came to the Prophet ﷺ about the Bahr. They was asking him concerning these seas. Ya Rasulullah, we're fishermen. And we go out upon the high seas. And we take with us a little bit of water for drinking. If we use that water to make wudu, we're going to go thirsty. So then the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Bahr, Tuhur, Ma'uhu. He says, as far as the sea, its water is pure. I mean, you can use it to purify yourself, and it's also pure itself if it happens to get on you. But then he said, Hillul Maytatu, wa Hillul Maytatu, and it's food that you find in the sea that's even if it's dead, it's still halal. So that's how the Prophet would do. He would do it multiple issues at the same time. This is the teaching methodology of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and also the way the law dealt with it. So after Umar and Abu Bakr was raising their voices in the presence of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Allah sent down a verse, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allahi wa rasulihi, wattaqullaha, inna Allaha sami'un alim. He says, oh you who believe, don't be forthcoming. Don't be all bold in the presence of Allah and His Messenger. I've talked about Allah, really, Allah is all hearing and all knowing. Then he said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tarfa'u aswatakum fawqa sawta an-nabi. He says, oh you who believe, don't raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَلَا تَجْحَرُوا لَهُ بِالْقَوْلِ كَجَهْرِ بَعْضِكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ أَنْ تَحْبَطَ أَعْمَالُكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ. And he says, and don't talk to him in the same manner as you talk openly to each other, lest your deeds be nullified and you don't even realize it. And so Allah, at this point, is teaching the believer to have a certain level of respect for Rasulullah alayhi salatu. They was thinking, man, he's just like us, because he's human. Human beings have human traits. So even though he's the leader, he's Rasulullah, he's still a human being. He still has to eat. He still gets tired. He still gets upset. He still has issues, his family, so on, lives, business issues that he has to deal with. So, but he's Rasulullah. He's the one in whom is the wahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, Allah says, don't raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet. Now, many of our scholars, because the Prophet is now dead, alayhi salatu wassalam, during the time of the Prophet, so after that verse, it was expressly prohibited if the Prophet is talking for anybody else to be talking. And if the Prophet is talking for anybody to even attempt to overtalk Rasulullah, alayhi salatu wassalam, to talk louder than him, or talk down at him, or overtalk him, or over-argue with him. That's why you would see some of the companions would take a very, very harsh attitude to people who had an issue with Rasulullah alayhi salatu, even to the point of death, when the Prophet made a judgment one time on an issue, and the man said, Ya Rasulullah, you didn't be fair. And then he went to Abu Bakr and he said, you know, the Prophet saw some judge between me and this person, and you know, he ain't do me right. And Abu Bakr said, what did the Prophet say? He said, so-and-so. He said, well, aren't you satisfied? He said, no. So Abu Bakr said, I can't do nothing for you. He went to Umar ibn Khattab. He said, the Prophet judged between me and this so, and then he did me wrong. So I said, wait a minute. You're not satisfied with the judgment of Rasulullah? He said, no, I'm not. So I said, let me ask you again. You're not satisfied with the judgment of Rasulullah? I said, no. And he asked me again. He said, you're not satisfied with the judgment of Rasulullah? And I said, no, I'm not. So he asked me the fourth time, and Umar said, okay, and he killed him. And that's how fervent they was after Allah teaching them the adab of Rasulullah. So, when there is hadith, and when there is wahi, that's why we don't have any other opinion. That's why Allah says, مَا كَانَ لِلْمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَنْ يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ He says, it's not for any believing man or any believing woman that if Allah and His Messenger has decreed in an affair that they have any other choice. This is part of the adab. Now, does each and every one of us follow everything that Rasulullah said? No, I don't think so. That's why I don't. I try my best. But that's one thing, and there's another thing to be bold about your opposition to Rasulullah. You're bold in opposition to Rasulullah. Like, people who decide that they're going to abandon this affair, whether it's Jum'ah, whether it's hijab, whether it's drinking or buying and selling alcohol, whether it's anything like that, and become bold about it. I'm bold about it. Even though Allah says this, the Prophet says this, and you're bold about it. And the ulama, they discourage us from doing it because it shows bad adab. I'm not encouraging anybody to sin, but if you're going to sin, don't be a mujahid of it. Don't be the sinner who I'm just out there sinning, y'all. Look at me. Like the Muslims put their sins on Facebook. Yeah, me and my girls came back from the club. Sound like a